I want to talk to you today about something that crosses over beautifully between the two worlds I inhabit, the world of psychotherapy and love coaching, where I've spent over 40 years learning to listen to what people are really saying underneath what they appear to be saying, and the world of dating, where that skill turns out to be one of the most useful things a woman can bring to the table. You may have come across the wonderful work of Jennie Young. She is a professor of rhetoric and the creator of the Burned Haystack Dating Method. Her central argument is one I can find completely compelling, and that's that a dating profile is not a shopping list. It's a rhetorical document, and the language someone chooses, the stories they tell, the things they include, and the things they conspicuously avoid. All of it is data. All of it is telling you something if you know how to read it. Jennie's method is rooted in critical discourse analysis. That is the academic discipline of understanding how language reveals power, values, and intention. It's very clever and it's rigorous. And it's exactly the kind of structured discernment I encourage the women I work with to employ when they are navigating the early stages of online dating. I'm going to add my own layer of it today, drawn from decades of understanding why people relate the way that they do. Let me start with the most fundamental reframe. When you look at a dating profile, most of us are looking for evidence of compatibility, shared interests, similar values, an attractive photograph. And that's not wrong, but it's incomplete. What a deeper reading adds is this question. What does the way this person talks about themselves and their life reveal about how they're likely to be in a relationship? Because here is something I've observed over and over again in my work. People's patterns in relationship do not usually come as a surprise if you've been paying attention to their communication from the start. This can mean that the person who's vague about what they want on their dating profile is often vague about what they want in real life. The person who describes themselves primarily through what they don't want is often someone who's not yet done the interior work to know what they do want. The person who frames their romantic history entirely as other people's failures has not yet taken responsibility for their own part in those dynamics. None of this is pure vindictive judgment. It's not about that. It's about observation, and it's the invitation to notice it. So let me give you some specific things to look for. The first is accountability in their language. When someone mentions past relationships, and not everyone does, and that's also fine, listen for how they frame those experiences. Is there a sense of reflection and having learned how I came to understand something about myself? Or is the ex simply wrong and they themselves are the wronged party? This is something I notice immediately. And that's not because having a difficult path means someone is undateable. It doesn't. But because the relationship someone has with their own story tells you a great deal about how they will eventually relate to you and your story. The second thing is the presence or absence of specificity. Specificity in a profile, genuine, particular detail about who someone is, what they care about, what they find meaningful. It's a form of vulnerability. It's very exposing for them, and it's very honest, and it tells you a lot. It requires someone to actually know themselves and be willing to show that. Vagueness, by contrast, is often a form of self-protection. I enjoy good food and travel. Tells you very little. Whereas if it's phrased like, I am most myself walking somewhere I have never been, ideally with a podcast and someone I trust, that tells you a great deal. The third thing, and this is the one Jennie Young has made famous and rightly so, is the phrase, I hate drama. If you see this in a profile, take it seriously. This is not his preference. It's information, and it's important information. In my experience of working with people and their relationship patterns, those who lead with I hate drama very frequently generate it. What they are describing is often a discomfort with emotional complexity, with the entirely normal, messy, non-linear experience of being in a relationship with another human being. It's natural, it's normal. This request is not for calm, it is for the absence of difficult feelings, and it's a very different thing to offer. Implicit in his statement is also a subtle demand for compliance on your part. If you were to express any concerns or feelings and needs which don't match his ideal, then you would be seen as dramatic. A pattern related to this is any language that positions the writer as exceptional by way of comparison to other people. Unlike most people on here, I'm actually serious. I'm not looking for games. I'm a real person. These phrases are not necessarily dishonest, but they do signal a kind of adversarial orientation in dating, a sense that most people are threats and this person is the exception and also superior. This is someone to be avoided. Now, I want to be clear about something important. Jennie Young's Haystacks dating method is designed for efficiency, for burning through the haystack of unsuitable matches so you can find your needle. What I am adding is another layer of interpretation that I draw on in my coaching and psychotherapy work. A profile is an opening. It's a first impression. And it can tell you whether someone is worth investing the time of a first date. Your own mirror profile, which I will go to in much more detail in next time's video, is about something slightly different. It's about how you write, not just how you read. It's about using your own profile as a genuine act of self-disclosure, so that the person who responds to it is responding to you, not to a performance of you. But now I'll leave you with just this. The next time you sit down to assess a profile, try shifting the question from, do I like the look of this person, to what is this person telling me about how they relate? Look at the language, notice what's there, and notice what isn't. Notice whether the overall impression is of someone who really knows themselves, is comfortable with themselves, and is genuinely reaching towards connection. And check whether that profile, for all its apparent confidence, reads more like a defensive document. My Dating with Clarity guide is in the description below, and it has the practical deal makers and deal breakers framework that I use with all the women I work with at this stage of dating. Jennie Young's Burned Haystacks community and book are genuinely worth your time. I'll link to them both. And the newsletter is where I go deeper in all of this every week. Both links are below. I'd love to see you there.